Video for a W210 cluster problem repair where all the clusters, periodically, none of the needles will work, and then one of them will like shake and jitter. It'll go and shake a lot, and none of them will work. And what's happening is the circuitry will shake all these needles until they get to the bottom 0 point. And after that's happened, then everything will go and start working. But what happens is the little spring and the stepper motors tire out, and the needle never hits the bottom. And so nothing works. And the circuit is waiting for, like for example, this needle to hit the bottom, and it never does. So it just sits there and just jitters for the whole time. And so I'm going to try to fix that. And you can see what I do here. These needles are a bit off, but they pull off by going against the bottom, and as you're lifting, applying lift pressure to go pull off, and eventually they'll pull off. It takes a little bit of work, but you can get those off. And so you take this off, and here are the stepper motors, the 4 for the 4 dials. And if you look really closely, get really close to that, at this one right here, you can see there's metal tabs right here, and you bend those out so you can pull the top of this motor off, and you can actually fix this without soldering or doing anything. When you bend these tabs out a little bit, then you can, this top will just come off, and you'll see kind of what I'm talking about. Oops, looks like I need to do a little bit more here. Okay, be really careful, because there are lots of tiny parts in here, and it's a pain in the rear to get them back together. Okay, so I pulled this off. That's the stepper motor right there. And this is the part that I'm going to look at down here. Break them down here. And so, if you pull these apart, you will see that there is, that one right here, and there's a little tiny spring on here, if you can see that. It's a big long coil spring that looks damaged somehow. So I screwed this up, but I'll try to fix that. Go ahead and stop. So this is the spring again. You can see that the spring is a round spring around here. And this spring should be pushing against this little notch right there. There's a gap there, so it's not pushing this all the way around. And so what you can do is you can take this spring and you can wind it around again. Wind it around. So what I did is I wound it around one more time so there's more tension, and that spring is pushing against that, so it came off again. Have to be really careful. This is kind of like microsurgery. Okay, so you can see how now with this spring there's pressure against that little stop right there, which is what you want. And so we'll put this back together, first with this side, and you'll put this in so that the edge of that spring is in that little gap right there. Oh, it just came off again. Anyway, I'll fix that, but you put it back together with that spring in there. And this little one goes right there. Okay, and so you can see these are spring loaded now, which is what you want. And you just put those two gears on, and then you press this back camera there. Push that back on there. And it's important that you hold these together while you're putting it back on. Otherwise, that gear might come off. And the spring will flip around again, and then you'll have the same problem. And so, push that one back in there. And then turn this cluster around and just press it back down in. You won't be able to see that part, but let me just do that really quick. So I press that back down, and you get your screwdriver or something to push these metal tabs back in to hold this part back down. And that fixed mine. You put everything back together, and I didn't have that problem anymore. So that's one way, if that's the specific problem you're having, that one of these stepper motors has gone bad, because that spring is worn out, then that's one way to fix it and make it work. It works for me, and hopefully it'll work for you too. Thank you, bye.
Nice.